if I have 5 elements in my array, then all the elements are stored one after another. In the sense, it uses continuous memory location. That means in 3 ways I can able to declare an array in Java, and it is left to the user. I can able to use any one of the type in my program. So all 4 are valid array declaration. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on an arrays. I am your Revati ma'am, faculty from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, first grade college, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, before going to start my today's session, let me to recall the topic which I have covered in my last session. So dear student, in my last session, I started with methods in Java. Along with that, I have discussed how to declare a method and how to call a method. Along with that, I have discussed method overloading in Java, and I have discussed Java math methods. So what is method in Java? That's nothing but the group of statement. Suppose if I want to perform certain task, then what I'm going to do? I'm going to write group of statement within the method. So what is the advantage of using method? That is nothing but reusability. Instead of writing same thing again and again, what I will do? I'm going to make a method. In that, I'm going to write group of statement to perform some specific task. Then I have discussed how to declare a method, along with that how to call a method. Then I have discussed method overloading. So what is method overloading? Same function. That means in my program I can able to have same function more than twice. But what's the difference? I'm going to use different parameters and different data types. So that is known as method overloading. Along with that, I have discussed some of the mathematical functions which is supported in Java. Now, in my today's session, I'm going to discuss what is array, what is the need of array. Along with that, I'm going to discuss the different types of array which is supported by Java. Now, dear student, what is array and why we required array? So, dear student, think that I have only one data item, say 1. So, I have only one item. For that, I can able to use the data types like integer or float, etc. Now, consider another scenario that I have group of 5 items. So, I have group of 5 items and all the items are of same kind. In that time, to store all this item, I required array. So what is an array here? It's nothing but the collection of homogeneous element. So homogeneous in the sense what? It's nothing but the same kind or similar kind. Now, what is an array? It is nothing but the collection of or group of same kind of elements are grouped under same name. That means if I want to access all these 5 elements, I can able to access all these 5 elements through the same name. So, normally, an array is a collection of similar type of elements which has continuous memory allocation. So, dear student, think that I have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And if I consider this example, I have same kind of data and all the numbers are whole number. Now, if I want to access these number, for that I require some name. Say it is number. Okay. Now, if I want to access first number, that is 1, then how can I access with the help of this name number? Now, think that I want to access 5. To access 5, I'm going to use the number once again. So, it is nothing but the collection of element. How many element I have here? That is 5. And all these are grouped under same name. And what is the name here? That is number. And all the elements are stored in the continuous. So, all the elements are stored in the continuous memory allocation or memory location. For example, if I have the memory location, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So, total 10 byte of memory location. Now, if I have 5 element in my array, then all the elements are stored one after another. In the sense, it uses continuous memory location. So, Java array is an object. Why it is object? Because in Java programming, all the things are treated as object. Even though if it is array, then it's also treated as an object which contains element of a similar data types. So, if I consider array, I can able to store only same kind of data. For example, think that I have 1, I have -5, I have A. Now tell me, is it possible to store these 3 elements in one single group? No, because it is my whole number. That is nothing but the integer. And if I consider this one, it is negative number. And if I consider A, this is character. And all the elements are of different types. Now, I'm not able to store different type of data in a single group or in a single name. So, array is nothing but the collection of same kind of data. The elements of an array are stored in a continuous memory location. It is a data structure where we store similar element. So, what is an array? It's example for data structure, and I can able to store same kind of element. And we are going to fix the size. Suppose if I fix the size, for example, say it is 5, then it is static. That means I know what is the size of the array. So, we can store only the fixed set of elements. For example, if I define the size of an array as 5, then I can able to store only 5 element. And if I want to access the element which is stored in an array, with the help of an index, I can able to access the element. For example, think that I want to access 4. Element 4, and how I'm going to access element 4? Through an index. So, with the array name, with the help of index, I can able to access the element. Array in Java is index based. See here, I have 5 elements. Now, think that this is stored in the location 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. This 0 to 4 is nothing but the index. Array in Java is index based. The first element of the array is stored at the 0th location. So, dear student, if I consider an array, the first element of the array is always stored at the 0th location. For that reason, array index starts from 0 to n minus 1. And the second element is stored on first index and so on. So, array index always starts from 0. Next index is stored on 1. Next one, 2, 3 and 4. So it is n minus 1. Why it is n minus 1? Because array index always starts from 0. So this is the representation of an array. See here, I have created the size of an array is 10. So what is the size of the array here? That is 10. And the index always starts from 0 and it's going to end, that is n minus 1. If n is 10, then what is the last index? N minus 1, that is 10 minus 1, that is equal to 9. So, array index starts from 0 to n minus 1, that is 9. And the length of the array is 10. Okay, the length of the array is 10, and in Java, array is nothing but an object and it is dynamically generated class. So, arrays is an object of dynamically generated class. Now, these are the fields used to store the data. For example, think that I have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 and 100. Now, if I want to access the element 90, then how can I access with the help of array index 8? See here, this is my array index, and with the help of index 8, I can able to access the element 90. Now, I have two type of arrays, that is single dimensional array or one dimensional array, and I'm going to have the multi-dimensional array. So what is single dimensional array? So dear student, think that I have created an array and to access the element I want only one index, and it is known as single dimensional array. For example, think that I have 5 elements. Okay, now I want to declare the array. So, how I am going to write? Int. So, first, what is the syntax? I want to use data type. So, here I'll write int. Fine. Now, see, in Java, first I'm going to write the square bracket. Then I'll write A. Suppose if you want to specify the size directly, you can specify. So what is the size here? It is 5. And in Java, to specify the size, I'm going to use the keyword new. That means with the help of new operator, I'm going to allocate the memory. So these are the certain type of array declaration. That means I can go with this kind of array representation or this kind of array representation or this kind of array representation. And all the threes are valid one in Java. Now for this, let me to write the example. So here, say my data type is integer. Okay, then I'll write array. Now, next time, int square bracket and it is array. And in the next time, int array. Okay. See here, 3 ways. That means in 3 ways I can able to declare an array in Java, and it is left to the user. Which one you feel convenient you can use in any one of these 3 types. Now, how to allocate the memory? See here, first I want to use the array reference variable, and with the help of new keyword, I'm going to allocate the memory. For example, say array name is array, okay, and new, I want to write the data type int and I want to specify the size. Now, what is the meaning of this statement here? So, here array is nothing but the name of an array and new is the keyword or operator used to allocate the memory. And what about int? That's nothing but the data type. And what is the size of the array? Here is 5. So, now tell me how many memory blocks are allocated now. That is, what is the size of the integer? That is 2 byte. And what is the size of the array here? That is 5. So, total 2 into 5, that's nothing but 10 bytes of memory is reserved for this array. So, dear student, this is the way I can able to declare the array and I can able to initialize an array. Now, this is the simple program used to illustrate how to create one-dimensional array and how to print the element. So, dear student, see here, I'm going to start with the keyword class. Then, I want to specify the class name. So, what is my class name here? That is test array. Fine. Now, the question arises, what is the file name here? That means, how can I store the file here? That is test array dot java. Okay, I'm going to store this program by the name testarray.java. So, dear student, please make sure that whatever the class name you have, that is your file name in the Java programming language. Then, I have the main method. See here, inside that, see, I'm going to declare the array. At the same time, I'm going to allocate the memory. And what is my array name here? It is A. And new keyword is used to allocate the memory dynamically. Int is the data type and how many element or what is the size of an array here? That is 5. Now, 2 into 5, total 10 block of memory is reserved. And what is the capacity of each block? That is 2 byte. So, it is 2 byte. Now, we know that the array index always starts from 0. And I have 5 elements. So, array index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Fine. Now, what I'm going to do? I'm going to assign 10 to 0th index. Then 20 to first index. Then 70 to second index and 40 to third index and 50 to fourth index. Now tell me how many elements I have here? That is only 5 elements. Now I want to read all the elements one by one and I want to display. So dear student, if I have only one element, then directly I can able to write system.out.println and A. But here I have collection of element. So collection in the sense what? I have more than one element. Now I want to read all the elements one by one and I want to print. So what I want here? I want for loop. Okay, I am going to use the for loop because it is iteration. That means I am going to repeat. I am going to read first element, then I am going to read second element, third element and so on. For that I am going to have the for loop. Now, if I consider for loop syntax, at the beginning, I'm going to have the initialization. So, I'm going to initialize the variable. And to represent it as index, I'm going to take I. So, array index always starts from 0. For that reason, I equal to 0. And I'm going to check I less than. What is a dot length? Here a is nothing but the array name and length is the property of the Java. Now, to get the length of the array, I'm going to use this property, length. Now, this length property is responsible for returning the length of an array. Now, what is the length of an array here? That is 5. So, it is 5. Now, I'm going to increment I++ because after reading first content, I want to increment the index. Why I want to increment the index? Because I want to read the next element. So, after reading next element, once again I want to increment the index because I want to read next element and it's going to continue. And I'm going to display 10, 20, 70, 40 and 50 one after another. Until the given condition is satisfied, this for loop is going to execute. Okay, now when the condition is get failed, the control transfer to the next statement and it's going to execute the rest of the statement. So dear student, let me to explain how to initialize array and how to access the array once again. See here, if I consider this line, okay, this is the another method. Okay, this is the another way used to initialize the array. See here, first I have int a and see how many elements I have. That is total 4. What are the 4? 33, 3, 4 and 5. Now the question arises, how many block of memory is allocated for A? So here, what is the type of the data? It is integer. Integer in the sense it is capable to hold only 2 bytes. And how many elements I have? Total 4 element. So 2 into 4, total 8 byte of memory is reserved for this A. And the index starts from 0, 1, 2 and 3. And I'm going to store the element one after another, and this is nothing but the continuous memory allocation. Now, to print the or to access the array element, I have for loop because I have 4 elements and I want to read all the elements, and with the help of array index, I can able to get the element. So this is the declaration and initialization of Java array. Now, I can use for each loop. So dear student, if I consider looping construct in Java, we discussed for loop. At the same time, we have discussed for each. So what is for each? That is nothing but the enhanced form of for loop. So if I consider for loop, I have 3 parts, that is initialization, condition and increment or decrement. But this one is the enhanced for loop, that is nothing but the for each. So the Java for each loop prints the array elements one by one, and this for each loop only meant for an array. It holds an array element in a variable and execute the body of the loop. Okay, so it holds the an array element in the variable and execute the body of the loop, and this is the syntax. So I have for, I want to specify the data type and I want to specify the variable name and I want to specify the array name. And this statement is going to execute according to the number of element present in an array. For example, if the size of the array is 5, then this particular for loop is going to execute 5 times. Now, dear student, I have this simple example here. See, this is my class name. This is my array declaration as well as initialization, and see here I have the for each loop. Now for, this is my data type and this is my variable name, and I'm going to use the colon and I'm going to specify the array name, and I'm going to print the element one by one with the help of variable I. So here for each array is mainly meant for an array. So this is the format I'm going to have. So for, specify the data name and variable name, colon, I want to specify the array name. Now dear student, I'm going to have the another type of array, that is nothing but multi-dimensional array. So multi-dimensional array in the sense what? I have more than 2 dimensions. So what is this dimension? That is nothing but the index or subscript. That means to access the element, I require row value as well as column value. And all the multidimensional arrays are known as matrix. So in such cases, data is stored in row and column based index, and it's also known as matrix form. For example, think that I have the matrix, that is 2 cross 2 matrix. So I have the element 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is my column and this is my column 1. So this is 0 and this is 1. Now this is my row 0 and this is my row 1. Now to access the element 1, I require 2 index, that is 0, 0 and this is 0, 1. This one is 1, 0 and this one is 1, 1. Now to access element 1, I require row index as well as column index. Now, to access element 4, I want the row index as well as column index, that is 1, 1. So, this kind of representation is known as multi-dimensional array. Multi in the sense what? I want 2 dimension or I want 2 index to access the element, and this is the syntax I have here. So here I'm going to have the data type, then I'm going to specify the array and array name. Next one is, okay, data type and 2 square bracket and array name. The most common array declaration is data type and here array name, then I'm going to specify the size. Now here data type and I'm going to specify first array, okay, then I'm going to specify the array size at the end, and I can able to use any one of the type in my program. So all 4 are valid array declaration. Now dear student, let me to discuss how to create multidimensional array and how to initialize the value. So dear student, see here int, and this is the example for your multidimensional array. and what is the array name? That is ARR, and new keyword is used to allocate the memory, and int is nothing but the data type, and it is 3 cross 3 matrix. So 3 into 3, it is 9 element, and what is the size of the data? It is 2. So 9 into 2, total 18 bytes of memory is reserved for this array. And if I consider 3 cross 3 array, okay, how many columns I have? Column 0, then I have column 1, then I have column 2. Here, row 0, row 1, and here it is row 2. Fine. Now, 0, 0, 0, 1, this one is 0, 2. Now, this is 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 2. This one is 2, 0, 2, 1, and 2, 2. Okay, fine. Now, see here, in 0, 0th place, I'm going to place 1. Okay. Now, 0, 1, I have 2, and 0, 2, I have the element 3. Now 1, 0, 4, 1, 1, 5, 1, 2, it is 6. Now 2, 0, it is 7, and 2, 1, it is 8, 2, 2, it is 9. Now, dear student, if I want to access any element which is present in two-dimensional array, to access those elements, I require two index. And what are the two index? Row as well as column. Now, dear student, this is the simple example used to illustrate multi-dimensional array. And what is my array name here? It is ARR. Now see here, it is 3 cross 3 matrix. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Over? Fine. See here, I have two for loop. This is the example for nested for loop. So within one for loop, I'm going to have another for loop. And this outer for loop is always going to represent row, and the inner for loop is always going to represent column. It is 2, 0, 2, 1, 2, 2. So here 2 is nothing but row 2, row 1, and row 0. This is column 0, column 1, and column 2. And if I consider here what is common, that is row 0 remains as it is, and only column is going to increment. So always your outer for loop is used to represent row, and inner for loop is used to represent column. And when the inner for loop get failed, then outer for loop is going to execute. Now once again inner for loop is going to execute, and once the inner for loop condition is get failed, then outer for loop is going to increment, and outer for loop is going to execute. And when both the for loop get failed, then the control transfer to next line. So this is the way I can able to use multidimensional arrays in Java program. And these two for loops are used to retrieve the content which is stored in an array and used to display the element. Now, dear student, in my today's session, I started with what is an array and what is the need of array, how to declare one-dimensional array, how to initialize one-dimensional array, and how to declare two-dimensional array, how to initialize two-dimensional array, and how we can able to print the array element by using for loop. These are the certain topic I have discussed in my today's session. And in my next session, I'm going to deal with objects and classes. Anyway, dear students, let's meet in the next session with the new concept and object and classes. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.